Hello everyone and welcome finally to my October wrap up. So I know this video was supposed to go up yesterday, but yesterday was a pretty tough day for me. I had it confirmed that I've been made redundant from my job. So right now I am trying to find a new one and I am the worst person at applying for jobs. I absolutely hate it. But yeah, they did basically tell me a week ago, but I only had it confirmed yesterday. So that's why I've been pretty down recently. I've probably been pretty down in my videos as well. So yesterday was a really tough day. I still actually had books all over the place to finish as well, so I'm not entirely sure I could have done a great wrap up, but I just needed yesterday to finish my books and just get my head together, and hopefully I can bring you a semi-decent wrap up today. So if you watch my TBR video or any of my videos over the last month, you might know that I have been exclusively reading Stephen King books and stories for the month of October, and I've had the best time with it. I haven't read as much as I wanted to though, because his books tend to be quite dense and they're not the sorts of books that I can really devour. Even though I love them, I do like savouring them and getting all the little details and stuff like that, so they do take me a little while to read. So I only have 5 books to talk about in this video. I did actually read 2 more for Spookathon, so if you want to know what I read for Spookathon, obviously watch my wrap up for that. So of the 5 books I'm going to talk about in this video, I gave one of them 3 stars, 3 of them 4 stars and one of them 5 stars. So I'm going to start off with the book that I gave 3 stars to, and that is Dreamcatcher by Stephen King. So in this we are following a group of men who have been friends their whole lives, and they go back to the town of Derry in Maine, which is where they grew up. It's also the same town that Stephen King's It is set in, and they are going back to Derry for their annual hunting trip. They all seem to have certain special abilities and a very strong mental connection, and they are constantly reminiscing about their childhood in Derry and when they used to be friends with a Down syndrome boy called Duddits. And Duddits seems to be like the thing that cements their friendship. Like, their love for him is what makes them so tight as friends, and it's really, really lovely to go back into those flashbacks and see how Duddits influenced all of their lives. So on this annual hunting trip, they come across another group of hunters who seem to be behaving a little bit strangely. They seem very physically ill, and it transpires that these people have been contaminated by a deadly alien substance, and there is a deadly alien force in the woods around Derry. Obviously there's military intervention because of this, and it's a very, very fast-paced, strange story. There are quite a few It references, so if you are an It fan you will probably recognise them in this, more so if you're a fan of the book It rather than the film, but they're very, very subtle references, but they're so interesting if you are a fan of the original source material of It. But yeah, it was just very, very strange. It was quite hard to grasp at times. I didn't really connect with any of the characters, which is why I didn't give it more than 3 stars, but it was quite fast paced, and yeah, that's why I gave it 3 stars. I don't think I'll reread it, but it was really, really fun while it lasted. Now onto the books that I gave 4 stars to. So one of those was Mr. Mercedes by Stephen King, and this is the first in his Bill Hodges trilogy, and in this we are following a case where someone drove a Mercedes into a queue of people outside a job fair, and no one was ever caught for this crime, but it killed many, many people and injured many others. And then months later a retired cop gets a letter from someone claiming to be this person, basically teasing this cop about how they never got caught and stuff like that. So the cop becomes determined to reopen this case. He comes out of retirement and basically is back on the hunt for this Mercedes killer, and is really, really fast paced, really exciting, some lovable side characters which I really loved. It was quite hard to read this after the bombing at the Manchester Arena of the Ariana Grande concert, which happened earlier on this year, because one of the main events in this, the killer is planning to basically let off a bomb inside a arena at a kids concert. So it's basically very, very similar to what actually happened here in Manchester earlier on this year. Obviously this book is a few years old now, but the echoes is just really, really uncanny and really, really scary, so that just gives it a whole new dimension now. But yeah, really, really a great fast-paced thriller that I definitely recommend, and I'd definitely be interested in picking up some more of the Bill Hodges trilogy. So yeah. The next one that I gave 4 stars to is The Gunslinger, and this is of course the first book in the Dark Tower fantasy series, and this is basically following a gunslinger as he is in pursuit of a figure called the Man in Black across these strange wastelands, and on the way he meets lots of different companions and he tells them stories, and it's very, very violent, but it's very, very strange, incredibly strange, but I'm really intrigued to see where else the Dark Tower series goes. It is kind of like Lord of the Rings, but set in a sort of Western setting, and I did read the foreword of this, and Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit and Tolkien's work is definitely Stephen King's main influence with this series, but he set it against the backdrop of The Good, the Bad and the Ugly film, so it's very, very unique. As I said, incredibly strange, as Stephen King books often are, and being a fantasy, this is even weirder, but yeah, really excited to see where this series goes. The next one I gave 4 stars to is Danse Macabre. This is a non-fiction analysis essay type thing of Stephen King talking about the horror genre in general, and this was so interesting. You can just see where he's got so many of his influences basically, and he talks about horror films, horror TV, horror books, horror radio even. This is mostly set around horror films and TV between 1950 and 1980, so there's a lot of really classic horror in there. Then he goes into why he likes it, he goes into why horror works as a genre, why people love being scared, and it was just so interesting. I found out loads about the horror genre that I knew nothing about, a lot about very old sort of 1950s, 1960s horror films that I'm really excited to go and check out now. So yeah, really recommend it if you are interested in finding out more about horror in general through Stephen King's lovely, at times very funny prose. So yeah, really recommend Danse Macabre. And the last one I gave 5 stars to, and it is his new release, which is Sleeping Beauty, which he co-wrote with his youngest son Owen, and oh my gosh, this book is just perfection. So basically we are following a world where when women go to sleep they are cocooned in this very strange substance, but if this substance is removed from them in any way, the women immediately wake up and become violent. So all of the women in this world are trying their best not to fall asleep, and everyone else is just trying to sort of keep away from the women who have unfortunately fallen asleep. But unbeknownst to anyone, these women, when they go to sleep and they are shrouded in this cocoon, they go to this magical dreamlike world, and it's basically almost like a parallel universe of their town, but there are no men there, and they lead a seemingly peaceful, happy life. But obviously nobody knows this apart from the women who have gone to sleep, and there's this woman who has been arrested, because most of the action in this centres around a women's prison, and obviously how this is affecting all of the prisoners and all of the prison officers and things like that. This woman has been arrested after a explosion and murders at a meth lab, but this woman doesn't really seem human, and it transpires that she is immune to the Aurora curse, which is what they're calling this curse because it only affects women, and it's like almost like the Sleeping Beauty curse, so therefore they've called it the Aurora curse. But she seems immune to this. She can fall asleep and wake up normally, and she's very strange, and she seems to have this magical aura about her. But it was so good. It really was very mysterious, very magical, and all of the feels. I got all of the feels from it. I really did. So I thoroughly recommend it if you are looking for a very strange, mysterious, spooky, magical, at times very violent, but at times also very funny and enlightening and lovable read this Halloween. I really recommend it. So yeah. And that is it for my October wrap up. What did you read this month? Please let me know. I will leave all of my social media in the description down below. I am so happy that October is finally over. I just hope that November will be slightly better for me. I will also say have a very lovely Halloween, whatever you are doing, and I hope you're having an awesome day, and I will see you very soon for another video. Bye bye.